How's it going, everybody? Nikki D here, Come on July Man yet again. I found a Reddit post from about 6 years ago about an online dating situation that I thought was very interesting, and I wanted to give it a read through today. So hopefully we'll have it on screen as we go through, but we'll do it paragraph by paragraph because there's about 10 bullet points. Technically not 10. 10 was like a conclusion, so we'll say 9. So basically the title of anyway, it's from a deleted account. The title is, for those of you that struggle with Tinder and or other dating apps, some things that to keep in mind. Let's get into it. So let's get right into it. So number 1, keep this to the point, he says. So, and I believe it's a male that writes this in. So there's a chance that cute person you swiped right on didn't even see your profile. I've been seeing a girl for the past couple of weeks, and though I met her in person, I actually found her Tinder profile and swiped right. She thought it'd be cute funny to swipe and match with me, but it took her a few days of swiping before she even found me. And we don't even live in a big city, so before you fret, I just think about how many people in these apps and how many profiles there are. It's a really good point. The reason I'm actually making this video is point number 3, but we'll get into that as we get down the list. And I didn't even read the others, so I'm sure it'll be very interesting. But that's a really good point, and I think people take that as like a rejection, especially a lot of men. I think men take that as a rejection when it's like, hey, listen, I've swiped right on women. I'm not getting any matches. Listen, don't worry about it, all right? There was a post, I'm not going to have it on screen, but if I do, that's commitment, where a lady posted like a week ago on r/Tinder. She was like, hey, listen, I'm like a 7 out of 10 on a good day, whatever. And it's like, okay, so she, above average looking lady, as she claims, right? And she's like, here's what I got in 1 week. And it was like over 4,000 matches, likes, which is a lot, So the whole idea too of like, you're going to try to stand out and give a unique message that'll make you stand out it's Bologna. It's Bologna, because those 4,000 matches, it's like, good luck. Right, which is also going to come into point 3 that this guy makes. But I think it's a really good point in the beginning. Don't look into that like necessarily a rejection. Could be, but don't look at it that way. Number 2, the large majority of people in there aren't even as great as they want you to think. To put it more harshly, a lot of people on dating apps are simply memes. There's a reason why so many of them are identical to one another. How many girls have you seen that love wine, tacos, travel, etc.? When I was younger, in my mid-20s, I'd think, damn, this girl's interesting and does a lot of cool stuff, but then show up to the date and find out they're really not. A lot of these people buy their own hype and aren't any better than you are. It gets less frustrating when you realize that, as cute as someone might be, they're a dime a dozen. That's actually really interesting, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I think online dating, and again, not like I'm just some expert or something. I've done it for so long, and had very limited success, that I think I can just relate to people, and that's kind of what I go for. And I think a really, really good point there is, a lot of profiles are cookie cutter. I mean, I could have examples on screen, but again, I'm not making any promises. I say that because a lot of times in post editing, I'll forget to do that. So I have to actually say it. And if I rewatch my video when I'm editing, I'll remember to do it. But if I do, I'll put something on screen. A lot of times you'll see pictures that profiles that'll just be like, there are websites that exist for this. That'll be like Hinge prompts, and they're exactly the same. I can name you several of them off the top of my head, off the top of my dome. Right? The part in Fergie where you do this and I'll do this. I think, what is it, like that otters or beavers? I think it's otters. Hold hands when they sleep, right? It's just the same thing, right? And I used to comment on those prompts and be like, oh, that's an interesting fact. I didn't know that. And then you see it just all the time, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is going to be the standard. One thing I used to write in my profile a lot, and I stopped doing, was like generic hobbies or generic activities, right? An example of something generic, I enjoy hiking. Okay, can you explain, right? Can you give me more than that, right? Can you, I like traveling. All right, great. Where do you like traveling? Where have you traveled? Give me something, right? So saying, something closed off like that with no further information or communication is boring. I'm into gaming. Okay, cool. What genre, right? What kind of games? What are you playing? Give me something to work with, right? So that is a point as well, and I think it's fair. A lot of profiles just lack uniqueness. That's actually one reason why I actually will say no to a lot of profiles, is because it's just I can recognize it you're this late in the game, you can spot it a mile away. And once it's just the same thing, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to bother using that opportunity. I'm not going to write you a message because I don't think anything's going to come out of it. And if it did, right, it's like I would have to basically start from scratch, right? Okay, great, you enjoy traveling? Okay, and then I have to immediately start asking about the traveling. Where if you were like, hey, listen, here's the places I have been. Here's what's on my bucket list for 2025. That's a conversation, right? Because then you could compare. You could be like, oh, sweet, you're doing Germany. Yeah, I was doing Africa, right? Like last summer, whatever. I don't know. Just an example. Point number 3, I actually want to come back to. So we're going to skip point 3 because it's the juicy part. We'll go to 4. This one's for the guys, though I'm sure the girls have experienced this too. If there's any piece of dating advice I repeat the most, it's this. A lot of the girls on dating apps have no intention of actually meeting up. They're just attention-starved, and dating apps are an incredibly easy way for them to get that attention. Why do you think you see so many profiles with maybe a sentence or two, and then most of their Instagram, Snapchat handles? They don't want you or anything else, or anyone else for that matter. They don't want they want your attention, and yeah, I know. Well, they'd go out with you if you had model looks and were rich, and you're probably right. Anyway, it just blabs on for a second. I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think it is a point that men and women, definitely more on the attractive scale of men, but definitely men and women do that. They go online dating, not all of them, obviously. And they go on online dating, and they do it to get likes. They do it to get attention. They do it to get dopamine, right? And I think people look too much into it sometimes, too. I think a lot of accounts, I think there's more at play. I think a lot of accounts are just inactive. Let's be honest. If you got a match tomorrow and it worked out, you were like, all right, cool. Like, we've been on, 3 dates, and you know what I mean? It's going somewhere. Like, it's progressing. You probably would just delete the app off your phone and don't think anything of it. That's a dead account because you're not logged in. You're not using the account. You're not actually active, and people will still see the account. It doesn't disappear. So that's the thing I don't think people take into consideration. When people just link their Instagram / the Snapchat handle, the name, in the bio, I just say no instantly. I'm not really into that. I don't know if they just expect people to start sending them Snapchats or snaps. I don't know if that's how that works. I don't even use Snapchat, but I know how it works. But I don't know if that's what they're expecting. If that's what they're expecting, just say no to those people immediately. Don't waste your time or energy on them. And I think that's actually a minority. I wouldn't say this is just women. I completely disagree with that point. I mean, sure, it might be more women, but I don't think that's just I don't know why it's worded the way it's worded in this post, that it's like, this is just for the men. Keep that in mind for women. It's like, I don't think so. I think maybe for some, but I really don't think so. I think that's a minority. I don't think that's a lot of women. Or guys, too. Right? And I think men do it as well. Number 5, we'll try to skip along here. Think of dating from an economic standpoint. What you get is what you're able to add to the dating economy. In other words, you will get the equivalent of what you're offering. And no, there's no such thing as fair dating. That's a normal. I'm not really quite sure I completely understand this. I didn't read this really in advance. I just read number 3, and I was like, that's interesting. I'm not really quite sure I get that. The only thing I could really add to this point is I think just being realistic about expectations is fine. I'm not going to date a woman that I would deem like a 9 out of 10. I know that's a bad way to look at it. I know people will often tell me that you shouldn't do that and you're putting yourself down. I think I'm just being realistic. I think there's really nothing else to it. I'm just being realistic, and I'm just going within my means. I think I'm an average looking male. Okay, I think that's a fair statement. On a good day, most days I just look like a rat, and I'll keep it that way, right? I look for a woman that I think maybe, isn't a model, right, and then isn't like Gollum, right? Being respectful though, right? And of course, I might look at a woman and be like, wow, she's beautiful, right? And someone else could have a different opinion, whether more attractive or not, obviously. But I think just being realistic about your means, recently went on a date actually with a girl that I thought was really, really cute. And then she just deleted her account after the date. So I guess it's not working out. But that being said, it's interesting, because it's would have been different with someone maybe that I didn't find that as attractive, right? You can still find attractive, but maybe not as attractive. So there's just levels to it. I don't know, but maybe that's a bad take. Maybe that's a bad take, but I think just being realistic about your matches is realistic, and I think it's a good thing. Number 6. The other piece of advice I hear a lot, I repeat a lot, sorry. Most of the people actually worth dating aren't on an app. Yes, there are exceptions. By and large, apps aren't the place to find anything more than a date or two or something casual. I think that depends. And I think this was 6 years ago, so this is a little while ago. But I think we're moving away from that. And I think we are moving towards a lot of good people are going, like, I mean, good people, but you know what I mean. I think a lot of, like, respectful people are going on dating apps and trying them. And I think it's just quantity over quality. I think you just have way too many people. Like, look at a woman, right? Like, a woman's going to go download Bumble today, right? She's going to go check out Bumble. She's going to be like, that's a great time. And you know what's going to happen? Boom. She's got, like, 3,000 matches. So there might, out of those 3,000, like, there could be, like, 100 that immediately fit her criteria of what she's kind of looking for, you know, the piece of the puzzle. And it's just, yeah, you got to sort through that, right? And a lot of the guys are just going to message her, like, it'll just be like unsolicited pics. You already know what of, you know, just stuff like that, right? And, or just, you know, or just this casual stuff, like, you know, not the right intentions, anything, right? And you have to sift through that, right? So that's the problem. Like, people are out there, and, you know, a lot just gets judged off very, very simple things. You know, like a profile picture, right? Like, you just look at a profile picture, you're like, okay, cool, this Nick guy, I don't know, I'm not really feeling it, right? And you just say no. So I've been told before, like, my personality's great. They like my personality. It's like, you're funny, you're great, right? You're a great time. But it's like, I can't express that. It's hard to express that. You know what I mean? If you don't get that opportunity, and your opportunity is so low because it's just on one screen on a profile, and if they don't even go through the profile, you know, you're very, very limited to, like, maybe a prompt in a picture, right? And you gotta hope to God you get everything you need there. So now I kind of disagree a little bit there. I think more people are moving to online dating, and it is more of the norm. But I think the common conception isn't also that good either. But I think that's where a lot of dating's going. That's why a lot of people don't really like dating at this day and age. Number 7, get better at in-person interactions. I've noticed that a ton of people are smart, funny, witty, whatever they want to be behind the phone screen, but face-to-face, they're just average. For the longest time, I felt like I had no clue what I was doing when it came to talking to girls on Tinder, and then I realized it's because I was talking over a screen when first meeting someone is awkward, especially when they don't give you much to work with. Also, I knew that I was much better where it counted in person. And there's just another point about that. I think that's a good point as well. I'll be quick on this because I really want to hone in on 3. That's a good point. That's why I do something that you interact with on a date. You never do a dinner. Coffee's not even always recommended, but you should have something you interact with, right? Even a walk into the park, you know, get a coffee, walk in the park. Perfect, right? Because you're distracted, and it helps ease the awkwardness of a first date. And I do agree. I think a lot of people kind of talk a lot online, but a big point as well is, like, a lot of people will, like, say stuff online, and then you'll find out, like, something's completely off. You know, catfishing example. And catfishing doesn't even have to be the wrong person. I mean, I've been catfished before on, like, people's, like, appearance, right? And you meet them and you're like, I actually genuinely thought it was not the person. I was so confused. And it was like, her pictures, I'm pretty sure, were like 8 years prior. And I was like, you know, you're 28. It's like, okay, that's fine. But if you're putting pictures at 20, right? And you look completely different at 20, right? Like hairstyle, weight, size, like everything, right? Now you got like a piercing. It's a different story, right? You know, and you have to look for that stuff. You gotta be truthful. So I do like that. You know, meet in person. That's good. I don't mind that. The person you were talking to, number 8, by the way, the person you're talking to that randomly ghosted you, even though it seemed like things were going well, you haven't lost anything. Truth is, you didn't actually know what they want, if they just wanted attention, that kind of thing. There's a reason why you see a lot of people who consistently are on dating apps over the years and just, like, never get anywhere. I like that, actually. I just mentioned, like, I recently went on a date. Girl deleted the app right after. I was like, she said she had a good time, and then the next day she deleted it. I was like, okay. Deleted her account, sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't hone in too much on that either. I think, like, getting ghosted is whatever. Like, just don't worry about it. If you met someone and they ghost, I don't really have a lot of respect for that, but there's really nothing you can do anyway. Yeah, just kind of leave it at that. You know, just don't bother. It's a game. Treat it like a game. Move on, right? There's other opportunities that will present themselves, right? And I think that's completely fair. I think that's kind of just how it is. One thing I'd like to note, though, the people that are consistently on dating apps, I've noticed people make their accounts really often. Like a lot of women, there's like a select 10 that I'll notice on like Hinge that'll remake their account like every week, and you just notice it. It's like, you've got to have a match by now that like kind of worked out for you, right? Like I know you have way more opportunity than I do, right? So there should be something. But will come into here in a minute. Number 9. A lot of people, guys and girls, have unrealistic expectations. So that girl might pass on you because you're not 6 feet tall with a killer body and amazing career, but focus on what's really important. None of these people are dating her or going to date her. Yes, it stings when you get passed up for shallow things like that, but realize at the end of the day, these people are still single and eventually have to settle. Not really, but I think that's fair. Like, I mean, a lot of people do have high expectations. I said that earlier. You can kind of be realistic. The height thing and money and whatever, I don't care. Right? Like, it doesn't matter. You need to have someone you gel with, and I think that's just overlooked, and I think a lot of people shoot higher than they want to anyway. Well, like a guy will go on and he's like, man, I'm going to get a really attractive woman, that I'm attracted to. That's completely fair. I'm really into whatever, but she can have her expectations too. Right. And that's the thing with online dating, right? Is you got to weed that out. Everybody's entitled to what they're looking for, and you got to figure it out. Last thing we'll talk about, and I'm going to try to make this quick, but last thing is number 3. I want to come back to it. So don't assume that dating is easier for good-looking people. We still have to deal with the same problems anyone else does. I'm a handsome, fit guy with his life together and a bright future. I got a decent amount of good matches given how crappy the options are around me. Do you know how many girls actually follow through on meeting up? Very few. To give you an example, last week I was supposed to have 5 dates, and I only ended up going on 1 of them. One was canceled by me, though, after I found out the girl was using old pics I looked from a different profile. That point's complete bullcrap, okay? Bullcrap. So, there was a comment down below, but I'll rephrase the comment because, I want to steal Buddy's thunder. But I'm basically going to say the same thing to wrap up the video. So, that's complete bologna. Okay, so average-looking people, men and women, are going to have a lot harder of time on online dating, in dating in general, than anyone at all who is attractive, who is more attractive. You are going to have more options, which will lead to more potential dates, which leads to more potential everything else. Okay, so let's be generous, and let's say I get 1 match a month on Bumble. That's generous. That's actually not even accurate right now. But let's say I get 1. Right? 1 single match. I have to hope that she responds, because now you can message first. I have to hope she responds to me. I have to hope I can line up a date. I have to hope that the date goes well enough that she continues to respond. And if she does at that point, I'm still not out of the woods yet, because you can still get ghosted after like even the 2nd or 3rd date. You can still get ghosted, right? Or unmatched or whatever. And this person is saying, hey, I'm a fit guy, and I had 5 dates lined up in a week. 5 separate dates in 1 week with 5 women lined up. I'm going to tell you that's complete bullcrap. That tell me that, hey, I also have a pretty difficult time getting anywhere on online dating. No, you don't. Because if you can line up 5 dates in a week, you have outdone probably about 90% of men in online dating. I can guarantee you, on my life, 90% of men would dream of that. Guaranteed. Okay? Guaranteed. They would dream, right? They could get 5 matches a month. They could get 5 matches a week. But I can guarantee you 90% of people, 90% of guys, average-looking men, are not getting that many dates in 1 week. Ever. The most I had was 2 in a weekend. Most. Like, top. Like, 2 dates. Like, 10 years. Top. Right? Not going to happen. I think average women probably have it a little easier because they get a lot of messages and they get a lot of matches and they get a lot of, but you have to sift through it. So you're just getting a lot of messages that are like low quality, that, it's just like one word, it's just like some shirtless dude that you don't, you know what I mean? You're not into them. And that's the problem. So there's 2 problems that I've talked about before, but I think just on number 3 alone, I think that's such an egotistical comment and point to make it like, hey, listen, it's not that much easier. No, it really is. So, there you have it. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Peace. Should be the thumbnail right there. How you doing? How you doing? Just keep saying, how you doing until I end the video. All right, see ya.